Hey, good afternoon. I just wanted to get back on here real quick today. We've had a lot of new people join the group. I want to say welcome to everybody. And I've been getting asked the question a lot. What does up your averages mean? What is this group? What's the purpose of this group? Well, the mission statement to the group reads like this: to connect with people that are already where we want to be, to mentor those wanting to be where we are, and to encourage those fighting discouragement everywhere. That's the mission statement, and that's the purpose of the group. And up your averages has kind of been a theme with me going back quite some time. And various people in the group know me from different phases of my life. And some may be aware, some may not be aware. But I used to haul around a lot of scrap metal. And I was working on this one particular job one day. And at this time in my life, I was working pretty hard to build a business, to be professional, and to do what I could to stand out. But I didn't have the best of associations. I didn't have the best of friends. And now that I look back on that time, I can say that I wouldn't want to be anybody that I knew at that time. But there was a particular story, particular set of circumstances that took place that was kind of like an epiphany moment. I'll set the story for you. I was doing a property cleanup for a friend of mine, way out in BFE, out in Lehigh, out towards Joel Boulevard and Greenbrier, all that kind of way for my South Florida friends. And on this piece of property, there was several things to be removed. There was an old 18-wheeler trailer, an aluminum trailer. There was a barn that had collapsed and had a bunch of roofing tin over it. There was just an old shop. He had all kinds of junk, old lawnmowers, all kinds of junk that had just been accumulating over the years. And I offered a free junk removal service at that time, so I went in there to clean all of this up. Well, he also had about 3 or 4 junk cars, and he didn't have any titles to those cars. And in Florida, it's a felony if you cut up cars and then go scrap them. Law enforcement really kind of frowns on that. So I didn't mess with junk cars if they didn't have a title. Now, if they was all legal and legit, yeah, I buy all the junk cars. But when it comes to crossing the line and doing things that are illegal, that'll cause me to end up in jail, I had moved way beyond that. I wasn't interested in any sort of shenanigans of that nature. But I knew somebody who did. And I put the two people together. The guy who owned the property that I was doing the cleanup job for wanted to get rid of these cars. And I knew somebody who would come in and cut them up. That's what he did. It's not what I did, but I knew a guy. So I put the two of them together, let them do their own business. There was nothing illegitimate going on. It was the guy's property and they were his cars. He just didn't have titles. Well, during the period of time that I was out there doing that cleanup, I had left my trailer out there on this piece of property behind a lot gate on a Friday. I was coming back on Monday to finish up my job. Well, over the weekend, the dude that owned the property and the dude who I brought onto the property and introduced him to, who was there to cut up the cars, the two of them got to talking on their own, of their own accord, and they decided to go steal a car and take it to the scrapyard. Now, I don't know if they was eating pills. I don't know what they was doing that particular evening. I didn't hang out with them. I had nothing to do with it. I clocked out on Friday. I was coming back on Monday, and my trailer was there. Well, they needed, the dude who was there to cut up the cars had a car hauler, but he didn't have a tag. So they decided to take the tag off of my trailer that was sitting out there because I was legit. And they put my tag on that car hauler, went and stole a car, took it across the scales at one of the local scrap yards. And when you scrap a car, they write down your tag number, they do all these kind of things. And it was well recorded. Then they put out a warrant for these dudes' arrest. And then they skipped town and they took off. And here it's Monday morning, and I need to get my trailer. And my trailer is behind this locked gate. And by this time I realized, because I jumped the gate and I went over there and I looked and I seen my trailer, I seen it didn't have a tag. I put two and two together. So now I got two problems. One, I got my trailer behind a locked gate. And two, my tag was just used in the commission of a felony. So I drove down to the sheriff's department. I wanted to be straight up and down. I asked for a deputy. I wanted to explain what the situation was and what was going on. And I found myself standing out there. I found myself standing out there talking to these two deputies, trying to explain how I had nothing to do with what was going on. However, I had these two friends, and this one did that, and the other one did that, and somehow my tag's involved, and now I'm in the middle of all of this, and I'm standing here, and I'm talking to these deputies, and the thought occurred to me. If my friends are putting me in a situation where I have to explain myself to a deputy and I haven't did anything wrong, then I got the wrong friends. I'm hanging out with the wrong people. And for the first time in my life, I realized that. I was different than they were. But for some reason, we still were associates. And I looked around me, and my level of associates really weren't much better outside of these two individuals. Now, in that particular case, all was well. I didn't get in any sort of trouble or anything like that. But that was the moment that I realized I needed better friends. The people that you associate yourself with influence your thoughts. Your thoughts will direct your actions. And the things that you're doing, the choices that you're making, is going to have a direct impact on whether you achieve your goals or whether you live a life of frustration because you never seem to achieve your goals. And I believe that you're the average of the 5 people you most closely associate with. I'm not the only one who said that. That's a thought. It was said to me one day, and I really picked up on it. And that's kind of what this group is about. It's about upping our averages. It's about being around better people. It's about meeting better people, associating with better people. It's about encouraging others. The world has got plenty of critics. I encourage my children. I tell my children to be encouragers. I tell those people that are around me whenever I have the opportunity to speak in a way that might influence somebody. I tell them to be encouragers. Everybody has got somebody that's going to critique them about something. Not everybody has somebody that's going to encourage them. You know, I'm Uncle Tony. It wouldn't matter what I did in life, what kind of trouble I got into, whatever I accomplished. Every time I was around my Uncle Tony, whether my behavior was on the far end of the extreme and I was in trouble, or whether it was on the other far end of the extreme and I had accomplished something extraordinary, he was always cheering me on. Sometimes when everybody was against me, and rightly so, my Uncle Tony would still encourage me. He would stand with me against the whole world. And that meant something to me growing up. And I would encourage you today, if you have an opportunity to encourage somebody, to stand by their side, even when the whole world is not, and maybe they don't even deserve it, I would encourage you to do that. That's what this group is about. It's about upping your averages. If there's a way to help somebody out, then let's do that. I'm going to read the mission statement one more time because I've had some people jump on here. The mission statement of the group, Up Your Averages. To connect with people that are already where we want to be, to mentor those wanting to be where we are, and to encourage those fighting discouragement everywhere. Up your averages. So that's the purpose of the group, and that's kind of the purpose of my life. Each day I want to be better. I want to be better with the things that I eat. A better diet is upping your averages. If it's a physical diet and it's food, if it's a spiritual diet and it causes you to do things that draw you closer to God or your higher power, if it's a mental diet, the books you read, the information you choose to listen to, whether it be some rock and roll, loaded like a freight train, flying like an airplane, feeling like a space brain one more time tonight. Man, that used to be my favorite song. I would listen to it all the time. There ain't no wonder I made silly decisions. Look at the stuff I was feeding myself all the time. I was celebrating being a space brain. I mean, that's kind of crazy. But today I listen to podcasts. I feed my brain different information. And I'm a whole different person. I make different decisions. I have different friends. And living the Up Your Averages philosophy is personal to me. It's something I do every day. And that's why I started this group. I want to encourage others to do the same. So thanks for listening. I hope everybody's well. That's what this group is about. Up your averages.